The Secrets of Technology is brought to you by the StarQuest Production Network and is made possible by our many generous patrons. If you'd like to support the podcast, please visit sqpn.com/give. Hi, I'm Dom Bettinelli, and you're listening to The Secrets of Technology, where we discuss the technology news that's important to you from a uniquely Catholic point of view. And joining me today is Jack Baruzzini. Hey, Jack.
Hey, Dom.
Folks, before we get started, I want to tell you about another show on the StarQuest Network you're sure to enjoy called The Secrets of Doctor Who, which you can find wherever fine podcasts are found or at sqpn.com/Doctor Who. And by the way, check out the new sqpn.com. We have a whole new website. It looks awesome. We've been working on it for some time now, and it's our first redesign in over a decade. So I'm really pleased with how it looks. I want you to tell me what you think. Let us go visit the site and let me know what you think of it. And there'll be some dust and wet paint for a few days, but so if there's some things you find wrong here and there, we're still clearing up some little remaining bits and bobs. But so check it out. Let me know what you think. It's at sqpn.com. So before we get into today's main topic, I wanted to talk a little bit about something that I got to do over the weekend. My wife needs a new iPhone, and so we went to the Apple store, and she went to go pick out her phone, and I said, I'll be over here by the Vision Pro section. And so I asked to get a Vision Pro demo. So in case you don't know, the Apple, when they introduced the Vision Pro, they offered this opportunity for people to go into the store and get a 20-minute personal demo. An associate puts the headset on you and walks you through the way it works. It's kind of interesting because when I saw the original demos and heard about them, it was much more of a concierge like experience in the sense of they had a space which was like a living room and a nice easy chair and I remember hearing about some of the things you got to do. It's different now. Now it's like a stool at a table. Although when they bring out the Vision Pro, it's on this tray, and like this associate comes from the back with the tray, and it's like, yeah, I want like all the lights to dim and a spotlight to shine on it. Oh, and hear the angels. It kind of felt a little bit like that. And so they took my glasses and they ran it through the machine to get the prescription and put the correct prescription lenses in it. And let me tell you, that worked. I was right off the bat. I could see really well in it. He did forget to put the light seal on it. So when I first put the headset on, it was like right up against my eyeballs. Like I could feel my eyelids touching the screen. So I'm like, it's really close to my eyes. And he's like, oh, I forgot to put the thing on. So we put that on, and it's really cool because he's got an iPad there and he can see exactly what I see and what I'm looking at. There was across the table from me was a guy my age and his teenage daughter. They were both together trying it. So they each had a headset on, and she was like going through it like she knew she's a digital native. She knew exactly what to do. He was like, they kept having to tell him, no, don't pick your hand up in the air. Put your hand on the table. Okay, no, you don't have to be so like. They had to really guide him through it. But I did pretty well with it, and it was as awesome as you think it is. I mean, it was immersive. It was the visuals were amazing. It just looked so good, including the pass through. I've had a Oculus Quest, and it's got black and white pass through, but it's like looking at the camera image on a Game Boy. It's really pixelated and gray, whereas this is it's like looking through a pair of glasses. It is. I mean, it's a little bit less than reality, but it's pretty high quality, and so. And then the imagery, the 3D, the sound, everything was great. I mean, I loved the idea of watching a movie in it. I would love to watch, my shows in it, if I'm watching something by myself, because clearly you can't watch things with other people unless you are a bazillionaire and buy multiple headsets. But I loved the multiple screens. It was like I'm like a monitor real estate guy. If I could have 4 monitors, I would. Right now I have 2 27 inchers. I would have 4 27 inches if I could. This is like having an infinite canvas. And so I was opening screens and had them up and everywhere. And I'm like, oh man, if I could edit podcasts in this and, just, it would be so awesome. So it was really cool. But I'm not spending $3,500 on it. It just,
yeah.
If it were $2,000 less, it would be something I might consider, because $1,500 for a high-end, decent computer, that's not a bad deal, right? That's essentially, a pretty good MacBook Air or something,
yeah.
And so, the screens, I guess, you're getting a screen with it and all that sort of stuff, but just, it's probably worth a lot more. But for me, I can't even think of anything until it's 1,500 or below. I'm not even going to think about it. But it just, as an indicator of where computing could be going, man, what a look into the future that was. So, that was my experience.
Nice. Yeah, I've been planning to go over to our local Apple store and try it out. Like I have no intention of buying one. Obviously, I don't even have an iPhone, but it's I want to try it out just because it feels very futuristic. One thing I was thinking though is when it comes time to replace your monitors, I wonder how much 4 27-inch monitors would cost versus one Vision Pro.
So as long as I'm not getting like Apple branded monitors, probably still less than $3,500.
Probably.
Although connecting them all to one computer would still be tricky because most, like a Mac Studio it has multiple inputs, but not that many. So you'd have to you'd have to do some extra third party thing to hook up that many. But nevertheless, you're right. It's even if you bought 4 monitors. But there's just something about, I don't know, the touching the things in space and moving them about. And it's like that fusion of what I do in my iPad with what I do in my Mac, and just like it's like the iPad come alive into, or me entering into that world or something sort of poetic like that. There's something more tangible about it in a sense where you feel like it's in your space. It's not just on a flat screen, and that makes a difference, I think. So I'd be curious to see what it would be like to edit a podcast in that, if I could work as efficiently.
That would be an interesting change in workflow. Did you try it like the Moonscape and those different things?
No, there was the one immersive environment we did was the Yosemite. So you can dial it in and dial it out. I asked if I could go to Tatooine in the Disney Plus app, and he said we don't really do third party apps in the demo. So I'm like, but if you know someone who has a Vision Pro, that would be a thing you could do. But one of the things, the demos was you could see some basketball and soccer, and it was like literally being courtside at Madison Square Garden. I mean, it was so immersive. Like it's like you're in those 100,000 whatever the crazy expensive seats on the courtside cost, but it's like being in those seats. It was so wild. You could see everything, the sweat dripping off the guys, the subtlety of the hands on the basketball or the kicks, and it was so, for sports, this would be amazing. Like in football, they got that camera right above the quarterback. If they made that a 3D immersive camera, I can't imagine what that would be like. It would be crazy awesome. So, like I said, it's a future. It's not quite there yet, but man, it's amazing. It's wild. So. Anyway, so that's my experience, and if you've had experience with it, let me know. Send along a note, and if you think it's the same, or if you had a different experience, or if you own a Vision Pro, and you get to do more of the stuff that isn't in the demo, let us know. We would love to hear your experience, and you can contact us at technology@sqpn.com. So let's get to our main topic, which we're going to be talking about something very practical here, which is phone cases and screen protectors. And, speaking of expensive gadgets, our phones tend to be very expensive and very slippery.
Yes.
That combination of sleek and expensive and fragile. And that can be a very, difficult combination. In the 14 maybe years that I've owned an iPhone, I think I've knocking on my forehead to knock on wood. I've cracked my screen once, maybe. And, they're getting a little more durable, I think. I think they're putting better glass, and they're being smart about not putting, say, glass on the back and that sort of thing. But nevertheless, you want you pay a lot of money for these things. You want them to look good and to last, and you don't want them to get all scratched up. I see so many kids, especially with phones, that are like, how are you not cutting your finger every time you slide it over that jagged, broken glass that you call a screen? So, but some people don't want phone cases. They like the sleekness. They like they like to go naked, if you will, with it. Jack, what is your philosophy? Do you armor yours up like a tank, or do you like it to go free and wild and natural?
So if I was a rich man, I would definitely not use a case, but I really like using like whatever the thinnest case possible that still protective is. It is I do hate the feeling of spending upwards of $1,000 on this new device, and it's made out of all these nice sleek materials, and then you slap a rubber case on it. So that there's always that feeling that you get. But I really like the Spigen cases. I think that's how you say the brand name.
Spigen, yeah.
Spigen. They actually had a social media campaign where they asked people to pronounce it. So, but their clear cases are really nice because they're very thin, they're protective, and you can still actually see the colors of the phone. So that's what I tend to go with.
Yeah, over the years, I've had a variety of cases myself, and I like you. I agree. iPhones, I think, are beautiful pieces of construction. There's a bit of beauty in the engineering of it, and I don't like to cover it up. I want to see it, so I tend to go to get a clear case myself, a thin clear case. I used to get a third party case. But ever since I've had MagPhone, the Qi charging or MagPhone iPhones, I've tended to get the Apple case for it, which I know is like you can spend $9 on a plastic case that even from a pretty good name like Spigen or one of those companies. But I pay a little more, partly because Apple's plastic doesn't discolor as quickly. I've noticed, like if I'm putting a thin clear case on it and then it discolors quickly, to a awful like smoker's fingers yellow. Then what's the point? I might as well just get a big thick honking case on it. So I tend to go that, and plus I think the magnets in the Apple MagSafe case help with the connection for charging. So I tend to go with that. What about screen protector? What do you do a screen protector or no?
I don't. I've never, other than, I've only broken a screen one time, and even then it wasn't a catastrophic break. It was more of an annoyance kind of break. But I just don't like the feel of them. I've tried a bunch of different brands. I've tried like those thin, I think it's TPU material ones, and I've tried the really complicated glass ones where you get like this rig and you have to put these drops on the screen and all that stuff, and it just never feels the same as using the screen without it. And I think Gorilla Glass is at the point now where it's going to be okay. I've had my phone for like almost a year now, and I don't even have any scratches on it that are noticeable. So I'm willing to take the risk and use the screen as it was intended. Yeah,
I'm the same. I've had screen protectors in the past. Every time I put one on, within a week or two, I'm just like, I hate this, and I take it off because they're never exactly the right size. So you could always see it sitting there on top of your screen. And I just, someone's going to call me a typical Apple user, like, oh, the aesthetics, but it just looks terrible. And then I don't care how careful I am, this always a speck of dust under it.
Yep.
I could be in a clean room and there'd be a speck of dust under it. It just drives me crazy. So I tend to go without. And like you said, the Gorilla Glass that they put on these days is pretty good. So let's talk about the pros and cons of these different things. So for phone cases, some of the pros, drop protection. That's important, right? I mean, especially on the edges, if you like, so not just like on the screen, but the edges can get all scratched up and dented if you don't have a case. But even if it falls face down, most protectors the cases kind of come around the edge and provide a little bit of protection for the screen. You know, if it lands on a flat surface, there is a bit of a bumper there. Now I know there are some, especially Android phones, where the curve is part of the screen. So that would be a problem, I think, right? Wouldn't it?
I used to have one of those, and it's one of those things where it looks really cool and it feels really nice to use, but it ends up just being a pain if you're trying to buy a case that will protect it. That was actually the phone that the screen got broken on, because it was in a case, but it landed right where that curve was, where the case can't come over it. And also, when you have a piece of curved glass, it already has that stress in there because it's curved. So yeah. So drop protection, scratch protection, a better grip. I mean, because that titanium or aluminum or whatever, that especially if you get a little sweaty, man, like especially if I'm somewhere where like on a boat or on a high place or something, I want to take a picture. I get so nervous. I maybe it's a bit of a kind of agoraphobia, but I get like nervous about stuff, like dropping stuff from heights or into inaccessible places. And so it's like, if it's slick, I want something with a grip. And so that's one of the nice things about cases. They're almost always grippier than the bare phone. Yeah. I was going to say, one thing you can do if you're worried, if you want more grip, but you really don't want to go with a case, is get a skin. There's one company, they're called D Brand, and they make really, really nice skins. I used to have an iPad and it had like their leather skin on it, and that felt really nice. Now, I will say I am not a huge fan of D Brand as a company because of the way their marketing is. It's extremely obnoxious, and they go out of their way to insult their customers, which is just their thing they do.
Yeah.
But they make really good products.
It was my pick of the week, was one of their skins for phones, is their X-ray skins, which look like it's a literal X-ray of that particular model phone that they've printed on a skin full size. So it looks like you're looking into the phone or iPad or whatever. So yeah, I mean a skin is not exactly a case, but it is at least a little bit of protection and grip. So you're right. I mean, there is that benefit there. So other things they talk about is, for pros, personalization. iPhone comes in, all the colors that you want, as long as it's the ones that Apple's marketing has picked this year, like, or whatever company, Samsung or Google or whoever. Whereas a case, there's the extreme large, not even just colors, but styles of cases. And we'll get into a couple of them in a minute when we talk about the different brands. But so that's part of it. And a case can provide a little bit of camera lens protection, especially when you've got a camera bump on the back, like Apple keeps doing with their phones. So it protrudes a bit. The case can kind of even that out and give you a little bit of coverage there. So that's nice too. Now, the cons of a case, it adds to the bulkiness, obviously. I get used to it, but whenever I have the phone out of the case, I think, oh, man, this is such a sleek thing. That case really does add some bulk. It can add some heat retention as well, especially right now as we're recording this. It's midsummer and it's hot out there. And every time I put my phone up on the mount on my car dash, I get warnings, hot, hot, hot. And I'm sure the case isn't helping with that. Aesthetic impact, we kind of mentioned that a little bit, and sometimes certain cases can cause issues with docks or mounts or cables, especially around the bottom where the socket is. And so you gotta, like the Apple's MagSafe case, there's nothing at the bottom so that it doesn't interfere at all. But I've had cases where getting a lightning cable, a USB-C cable in was tricky, and I had to switch cables in order to be able to use it. So that can be an issue.
Right. I do think I've almost adopted a philosophy with cases where it's because I don't like to use them if I don't have to. It's like a as needed basis. So something I will do is I have like a more rugged case that when we go to the beach in the summer, I will actually buy a cheap pack of screen protectors and use this rugged case just for that week because I know sand's going to get all over the phone. But I still want to take it to take pictures. So I will slightly amend my statement on screen protectors and say that I use them for about a week once a year.
That is an excellent point. Is you can buy different cases for different purposes for different times. People do that with Apple Watch bands and that sort of thing. Sometimes you need a case for when you're out jogging or bike riding, and then but you don't want that big bulky case when you're going to work, or and maybe I know people around the house who carry their phone around without a case at all. They I don't know, maybe they have carpets everywhere and don't have kids, but that's a possibility. Yeah, that's actually a good tip is have different cases, and when you go, you're going to go someplace, maybe have a screen protector just for that period of time.
Yeah. So
speaking of screen protectors, there are some pros and cons there. The pros, so scratch and impact protection, those are big ones. Increase the durability, fingerprint and smudge resistance. Although the Bear screen now is usually they're pretty good at being oleophobic, whereas they resist oils from your hands on it. Although I do notice I need to wipe my screen off every once in a while with my eyeglass cloth. But that helps too. There are some that have privacy filters, so when you can only see what's on the screen at a very particular angle, which usually reduces legibility, even at the correct angle and brightness. So I would only do that if I was in a situation where I really needed to keep my phone private and when I'm in public, as well as anti-glare options have the same issue. So So yeah, it reduces glare from the sun, but it also causes some brightness issues. So there's trade-offs there, and that's part of the cons. Reduce screen clarity. Certain screen protectors can cause sensitivity and touch issues where you're not able to get the responsiveness from the touching the screen as they usually do. Oh, not too bad. But the big one is the installation challenges. Air bubbles, dust. Being just slightly misaligned. Like if you're an Apple user, you can be like, you see it and it's just off kilter. It'll just drive you nuts. So, yeah.
I would say if I was an Apple user, I would absolutely just take my phone to the store and have them install it because they have that machine where it just lines everything up perfectly. So
yes.
So if you have an iPhone, let them do it professionally. It's going to cost a little more, but the result is going to be better.
Right. Apple doesn't sell their own brand of screen protectors, but you can buy a Belkin one at the store and they'll install it for you. And that's the way to do it. If you're a screen protector sort of person, when you buy your phone or take your phone to the store and have them do it for you, and it will be perfect. There'll be no dust, no bubbles, and it'll be perfectly aligned. Because if they don't do it, you can tell them it's not right and they'll do it again for you. There is a question of one of the last cons is sometimes there are issues with cases. Sometimes the cases are so restrictive around the screen that they kind of will bump up against the screen protector that's kind of, any of the thicker ones, and that can cause some issues there. So you have to be aware of that if you do go for a screen protector. There are two kinds, basically. Oh, go ahead. You were going to say.
Oh, no, go ahead.
There are two kinds of screen protectors, basically. You either get tempered glass, which tempered glass is like what your windows in your car are made of, and plastic. Tempered glass is more rigid. If it breaks, the whole thing shatters, but it takes all of the impact away from the screen of your phone. So your phone, unless it's a hammer, your phone should be pretty safe. But it's tempered glass is stronger. It's more impact and scratch resistant. It's a bit easier to apply because it's more rigid. That actually helps, and it feels like glass, which is great. But they tend to be more expensive and thicker. Plastic is cheaper, thinner, lighter, shatterproof, but it's less durable. It's tricky to install, and it may not have the same level of protection.
Mm-hmm.
I've had both kinds in the past.
The one nice thing about the plastic ones is that they usually are quote unquote self-healing. So if they get scratches, they'll kind of work their way out after a couple weeks, which is cool, but I don't know. I would say, as a recommendation for a specific screen protector brand, Super Shields, that's Super Shields with a Z.
Uh-huh.
You can get those on Amazon for like between $5 and $10 a pack, and they come in 2 and 3 packs, and they're tempered glass. They're easy to apply. So if you are looking for a screen protector, I would say look at something like that before you go for the more name brand ones that are like $30 for one.
Right. Get the cheap one, try it out. If you're able to get that to work for you, great.
Yeah.
But if it doesn't work for you, then you'll want to go looking for something a little more. And some of the other brands, Spigen has a variety of screen protectors, including, I thought it was very cool, they have protectors that are specifically for the camera lenses. So they're optical quality glass that go over the lenses on the back of the phone to protect them, because you're always putting your phone down. I know I'm always putting my phone down with the lenses down. You know what I mean? Like, so, if the phone's up at me, I often put the phone face down, but it's often up, and so it's going to get touching the table or desk, or it's in my pocket and there's keys or whatever. And when you take pictures, after a while, you might start seeing scratches and fuzziness in the pictures because of it. So if you have a protector over that, that'll help. So that's actually pretty cool. And another highly rated one is one called Amfilm. I haven't used this one, but both of these, I made sure they have, they cover like a variety of brands. Unfortunately, with cases and protectors, you got to get the one that fits your phone brand, because there's no standard sizes. That's the issue. So you got to get the one that works with your phone. As far as cases, like I said, I prefer for my iPhone, I prefer the Apple brand. But if you want to get something else, like we said, Spigen has a huge variety of cases at a bunch of price points, from inexpensive to relatively expensive, from very sleek to very strong protection. I would look at their armor line. So you get tough armor, style armor, slim armor, and rugged armor. And then the optic armor is that covers the lenses. It actually is it slides. It's a sliding door that covers the lenses when you're not taking photos. So yeah, it's kind of neat. Now, of course, the gold standard for being known for having strong cases is OtterBox. They were known for making strong storage cases for equipment, large equipment, cameras and stuff like that in the past. And when phones came out, people turned to them. I tend to get stronger cases, although not the expensive ones, for my kids when they get phones, because they need
Good idea.
Yeah. Or iPads or whatever, that's the thing. But they're known for, my sister was always breaking her phone, like cracking the screen or whatever. So I told her, look, spend what you have to, get the OtterBox. One OtterBox case is cheaper than $90 every time you break your screen, or more now probably. So so she got it. Another one that I saw online is called Urban Armor Gear, and they make their cases to mil spec standards. That's like take it into the field, as when you're in special forces sort of quality. So that was pretty cool.
I was going to say, there's also, I don't know if we've touched on this yet, but like leather cases, if you want something classy, there's some good brands there.
Yeah. Nomad makes some great leather cases for iPhone. And what's nice about the leather case, especially the real leather, as opposed to the fake leather that Apple tried to get away with this past year. I don't know if you heard about that. They came up with some eco fake leather,
fine woven.
Yeah. and it just, people were like, it feels weird and gross and looks, and then gets dirty really easy. So they've actually just quietly pulled it from sale. Like people just, they're not even selling it anymore. So that's what I think. People got really creeped out by it. But if you get some real leather, it ages, it weathers, and it weathers in a cool way. It looks good the more you use it. So Nomad is a good name brand for that. And I found that if you have a Samsung or Google Pixel, Toro with 2 R's, Torro, they have leather. It was weird. I noticed that with leather cases, most leather case manufacturers just focus on a couple or one brand. Unlike the more, the plastic cases, which they generally tended to be more wide. Probably because leather cases are just, they tend to be handmade. So they gotta specialize.
Yeah. And I will say it's difficult to find a good phone case unless you have either no one can beat Apple for the number of different case options there are. Like Apple, Samsung, and then Google is like a distant third for good case options.
Yes, right. I mean, there's tons of stuff on Amazon, cheap Chinese cases, but even an inexpensive no-name case off of Amazon is going to provide at least a little protection for your phone. So, I mean, that's the bottom line there. Jack, you had a good tip too. Like if you decide to have a case or not, you should probably consider another safety option, protection.
Yeah. Phone insurance. You can either do this a lot of times it's at the time of purchase. I know you can get Apple Care with your iPhone. I think Google and Samsung also have their own options for that. And you can also get insurance through either your insurance provider. A lot of times they'll have an option for that, or your cell service provider. I know Mint does it. I think it's $80 a year, and you get it through Allstate. And I mean, that's like $8 a month. That's worth it. If you break your phone once, it's already recouped the cost. So even if you decide to use a case, it's still worth doing. And if you decide not to use a case, it's definitely necessary.
Yeah, and there's 2 levels of Apple Care. Now they have Apple Care and Apple Care Plus. And the main difference is how many times they'll fix your phone for low cost versus making you pay for through the nose for the fix. So, I tend to just with a phone, because it's so susceptible. It's not like my Mac Studio, which is sitting on my desk. It's not going anywhere. My phone is out and about in the world, and so I'm like, Apple Care Plus is probably for the device to replace it would be whatever, $1,200, $1,100, $800 for an iPhone. That makes sense. So all right, that's what we had to say about the cases. I know there's a lot more that you could say, and there's a lot more cases and screen protectors out there, but we'd love to hear from you, the listener. What do you use? Do you prefer to go without a case, and why? And has it ever come back to bite you? Or do you have a favorite brand that we didn't mention? Something that the other listeners might want to know about. So you can let us know by emailing us at technology@sqpn.com, or visit us on our Discord server at sqpn.com/discord. We have a great Secrets of Technology channel over there where we talk about the topics. We also do a little bit of tech support. I can't guarantee we'll fix all your problems, but there's enough nerds and geeks in there that usually someone's got some advice for you when something comes up. So check that out. So before we move on to our headlines, I'd like to take a moment to thank our patrons who make it possible for us to create the Secrets of Technology, including Kenny P., Glenda N., Tabitha M., Tyler G., and Becky H. Their generous donations at sqpn.com/give make it possible for us to continue the Secrets of Technology and all the shows at StarQuest. And you can join them by visiting sqpn.com/give. This StarQuest show is also brought to you by Exodus 90 and the Exodus 90 app, a daily companion to help you grow closer to God and to become the man you want to be. This summer, join the Enthronement to the Sacred Heart, the Exodus 90 Summer Book Club, and St. Michael's Lent, beginning August 15th and leading up to the Feast of St. Michael the Archangel on September 29th. Go to exodus90.com/SQPN for a 14-day free trial to the Exodus 90 app and to learn more about St. Michael's Lent. That's exodus90.com/SQPN to join us for St. Michael's Lent starting August 15th. So, headlines. We've got a couple of interesting headlines. The first one kind of hits home for me because it sort of applies to me a little bit. HP discontinues its online-only LaserJet printers in response to backlash. Instant ink subscription gets the boot too. This is from Tom's Hardware. So, the deal is HP had this program for a long time called Instant Ink, and this was their way of maintaining their profit margins with ink. Ink is printer ink is the most expensive substance in the world per ounce, but by the ounce, literally, it is more expensive than diamonds, platinum, titanium, you name it. It is more expensive in it when you measure it out per ounce. And but people were turning to third-party ink cartridges and all kinds of stuff like that for the longest time. So they came up with this thing where they sell the printer to you at a loss. It's really cheap, but you have to get the ink through this subscription program, and the printer has to be online, communicating with them about its printing and how much ink it has left, and it has to be on the internet, connected via the internet at all times. And when it's not, they start warning you and nagging you and tell me how I know this, because my printer would go off the network every once in a while because it just happens, or one of the kids knocked the plug out, and we don't do that much printing, so it could be days before we realize the printer's not on. So it just becomes a kind of a hassle, and you're paying $4 a month or $5 a month every month at the minimum. I think it was the lowest plan, even if you don't print very often. So there was a bit of a backlash against it. And so HP has discontinued this one particular series of LaserJet printers. So if it's the E series. So if the LaserJet name ends with the letter E, like LaserJet M110WE, I love how those names just roll off your tongue. That one is discontinued. The regular model, like the M110W, is still continuing. If you own an E-Series LaserJet now, it will continue to function. If you have an Instant Ink subscription, that will continue, but they will not be doing new Instant Ink subscriptions. So, Jack, what do you think of this Instant Ink? I mean, was it a scam? Was it a benefit? Was there a benefit to the user in any of this? What do you think?
I just don't like the concept of, this just goes back to, do you even actually own the hardware you're paying for? Where if this device has to be connected to the network and pinging back to a server owned by the company, otherwise it's not going to work, then you don't really own it, you're leasing it. And I suppose I guess it would depend on how much of a discount were you getting, and how aware of these stipulations did they make people when they sold them to them. I just don't like it based on just the very concept of it, but
Right.
I could see a situation where maybe it would make sense for a very select number of people.
I mean, in a business setting, like with copiers, they're sold this way. You lease the copier, but you have to buy the toner from the copier company, and they provide it, and they keep track of how many copies a month, like you're paying, based on a usage and all that sort of stuff. So from a bit, business owners, they're kind of used to it by now, even though I think the whole copier business is a scam too. But I think a lot of people, they just said, I need a printer. That's a printer. That's how much it costs. I'll take it home. And then kind of don't think about it until you realize I can only print with their ink. So if I run out of the ink and they're going to ship it to me, they say they'll ship it to me before I run out. But if I run out, I can't just go down to the store and buy more ink, because it won't print with any cartridge but the one they send me. And that, I think, is a big problem.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. I think I remember hearing a story a couple of years ago about people taking the empty cartridges and pulling that little chip, because that's the only thing preventing it. There's nothing physical that's actually causing it. It's all software lock.
Yep.
And hacking it so that they could put other ink cartridges in it. And I think that HP blocked that with a firmware update.
Yes. I think we did a headline on that a while ago, on that very thing. Yeah. So, I mean, I just think good riddance. I'd rather, I don't print that often, but when I do, I need to print now, I need the paper now. So I'd rather have, I don't want to pay monthly for a service I use intermittently, put it that way. If I only watched one show on Netflix that came out every other year, I'm not going to subscribe for the whole year, or, month to month to month. I'll unsubscribe and then resubscribe when that show is out again. And it's sort of with this. If I don't print all the time, I don't want to be paying a monthly base fee to have the opportunity to print if I so choose. I just want to have a printer and be able to print and buy a cartridge. And maybe we should get used to paying a little more for that convenience. And I think I think the market has spoken and they've heard. So our next headline is from the BBC. It says, "What does a world without Airbnb look like?" And it talks about the backlash toward Airbnb and short-term rentals in general. There are a lot of cities. They started talking about Barcelona, which has announced plans to ban, Airbnb, Vrbo, the short-term rental market starting in 2028, November 2028. New York has started doing that. Other cities have started banning these, short-term rentals of apartments or houses, partly because it's causing a housing crisis. There's not enough apartments for people to rent to live in because so many, especially in, destination cities, so many apartments and houses are being rented out. And sometimes by big corporations who are buying these up. Airbnb started as a way for people to, take spare rooms and rent them out to people. I mean, that's literally, it was a spare room, spare bed sort of situation. And then it became this whole other big industry of people making a living, buying houses and renting them on Airbnb. So it's a bit of a pro and con, because on the one hand, I feel bad that they don't have housing, but on the other hand, Airbnbs, when you have a big family, are really a lifesaver, because hotels, when you have a bunch of kids, and especially if you want to go on vacation with your extended family, man, it can get really expensive to rent a hotel.
Very cramped.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. I mean, a couple of years ago, longtime listeners know, when my house had a flood, we had to be out of our house for 2.5 months. For the first 2 weeks, we were in hotel rooms. And man, let me tell you, that was terrible. But then we got a house that the insurance rented for us, in a Vrbo house, and we stayed in actually a series of them over the course of the couple months. And man, it was at least, I mean, it sucked not to be in your own home, but at least it was a house, and you could make dinner and you could spread out and you had room, and, you could relax in a living room and go to bed in a different room and not have everybody in the room with you while you're trying to sleep. It is nice to have that opportunity. So I don't know. What do you think? I mean, I can see the pros and cons of both.
I'm kind of the same opinion. What I would like to see, because we've actually had this where I live, is any house that comes up for sale gets bought by an out-of-town investor, and they're being bought for these inflated prices. And so anyone who lives in the area is getting, not even if there is a house available, people are getting priced out of their own neighborhoods. Some more granular stipulations on who can actually use Airbnb, like, I don't know. I'm not a legal consultant or really have any business acumen, but make it so that you can't have these corporations who are just buying up all these houses across the country in destination places and churning out these Airbnb subscriptions based on that. Like, if it's just one person doing it and they have like you said, their spare rooms. Like, I'm fine with that, but I would be okay with restrictions on businesses doing this.
I mean, I wonder if it would be legal to pass a restriction on, how many non-resident, how many homes a non-resident owner can own in your community. Like if they don't live in one of them. Was that? I
would be okay with that. That may sound a bit draconian, but it really messes up local communities when you have out-of-town companies buying everything.
Right. I mean, it messes with the communal feel, like the social connections as well. I mean, from a Catholic standpoint, that is bad for your society, bad for your community when, you don't have people who live there in their homes, that it's constantly transient, people coming in and out. I would favor regulation over bans. I think I see the positives, the benefits of these services. But I can see when they become too much, it becomes a problem. I'm constantly getting barraged with postcards and letters and emails from companies wanting to buy my house. I give them all the same, inflated price. If you pay me $1 million, I will move.
Yeah, I do the exact same thing.
Yeah. I do have criticisms of Airbnb. I think the pricing has gotten out of control. It's like $150 a night is listed as the list price. And then you have $150 cleaning fee and a $75 service fee. And by the time you're done with it, it's like 3 nights, it's $1,000. Like what? There are downsides compared to hotels. In a hotel, they don't charge you for maid service. That's part of the cost of doing business for them is they clean it. And you're not expected to clean your hotel room before you leave because that's on top of that. You have a cleaning fee, but you're also expected to do the laundry, wash all the towels and sheets and stuff like that before you leave. So, there are downsides to, the short-term rental things, just from a consumer standpoint. But from a community standpoint, I'd like to see the industry change, and I'd like to see Airbnb and Vrbo, and they're probably all owned by the same company now. They just have different brand names, but I'd like to see them take a little more responsibility for the impact they're having on the communities, and they better, because they're going to end up getting their business destroyed if they don't do something. So our third headline, this is kind of fun because it just, it gives me a little nostalgia for the old Cold War. So it's a Newsweek headline, and it says, Russian space chiefs finally admit the U.S. landed on the moon. They may have landed on the moon very long ago. It's okay. It's very long ago. They did it. Okay. We'll be there soon, too. So apparently, the official Russian position for many years has been to doubt that America actually landed on the moon, to claim that it was faked. And in fact, until very recently, more than half of all Russian people expressed skepticism that the U.S. had ever landed on the moon. But the Russians, chiefs, head of the Russian space program, let's see, Yuri Borisov, he said that as for whether the Americans were on the moon or not, I have one fact to share. I was personally interested in this matter. At one time, they provided us with a portion of the lunar soil that the astronauts brought back during their expedition. So that's an official acknowledgement. So it's nice to see some parts of the Cold War continuing to thaw.
I just want to know how the moon landing conspiracy theorists are going to spin Russia acknowledging it. How does that tie in?
Yeah, it's all part of the big, I don't know, how would they do it? I don't know. Well, it kind of reminds me of the Apple TV Plus series For All Mankind, which the alternate future where the Russians landed first. So it would be a funny storyline there to doubt that the Russians landed. But yeah, there's still plenty of Americans who think that the moon landing was faked. So they're in good company apparently in Russia. There's a movie coming out starring Scarlett Johansson based on a true story, apparently, about NASA's plans to show a fake moon landing in case the real one went awry. Yeah, so they were planning to record and then release the imagery of a fake moon landing, which, if that's true, might be why people continue to think that there was a fake moon landing because they were planning one. So
there could have been one. There just wasn't.
Yes, there was a set and everything. So it's kind of funny. All right, so those are our headlines. Let's go to our picks of the week. And Jack, you're up first. What is your pick this week?
So my pick this week is something that I bought recently. I've been having a lot of wrist pain. I spend, I'm a desk jockey, spend all day typing on a keyboard and things like that. So I decided to try out one of those ergonomic mice that you can get. And I found this one at Best Buy. I think I paid like $40 for it. It's from JLab, and it's the JLab ergonomic mouse. It looks really strange. The best way I would describe it is a peep that's been put in a microwave too long. It's just kind of this weird lump, but it feels really amazing because when you hold it, it moves your arm from that kind of flat position you have with a normal mouse to a vertical position. And it has really helped with all of the wrist pain I've been having. It's a little bit of a learning curve to get used to because you're basically holding the mouse sideways from what you would normally hold it, but it's really comfortable. It doesn't take that long to get used to, and it's been very helpful. So if you're worried about carpal tunnel, I would definitely recommend it. And it is also very, very quiet, which is another plus.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, I'm looking at the pictures on their website. If you imagine just put your hand or your forearm on your desk, the natural way that your hand falls, kind of cupped, kind of bent, thumb kind of bent around, that's how you grip the mouse. So it's a very natural. So like the side of your hand is resting on the desk and the rest of it's kind of cupped over. So it's a vertical mouse. It's just cool. I like that idea. I mean, I'm a trackpad guy through and through now, but that might, because I have cramping issues when I use a mouse, but something like this might work. So for me too, that's pretty cool. $30 on their website, which is a good deal. So that's
nice.
Yeah. They have a Prime Day deal on Amazon. So if you buy it on their website, you go to it takes you to Amazon. So snap it up right away, folks. Cool. Very good. So mine is not computer technology. My pick this week. So the humble rice cooker is actually a marvel of engineering when you think about it. It's a very simple device that just it works by having a thermostat. So basically, with the simple basic rice cooker, you put rice and water. Excuse me, hit my mic. You put rice and water in the pot, and you put the pot on, and you turn it on. And it heats up, and it heats up to 212 degrees. That's the boiling point of water. And then when the water boils away, when it's all absorbed into the rice, the temperature starts to go higher. So it goes above 212. When it does, the thermostat, I'm not sure exactly. There's another, I forget what it's called, but it basically kicks off. There's a thermoresistor or something like that. It turns off and it's done. And that's a very basic rice cooker. And that's and that design is, I think, like 170 years old or something like that. It's been around forever. It was invented in Japan, of course, and they tend to be cheap. And I have had one of those for years, but we eat rice a lot in my family. We have a big family. Rice is inexpensive carb, so we eat a lot of rice. And we just would go through the rice cookers like crazy. It was, and we want a big one because we have 7 people. So I decided the next rice cooker I was going to get was going to be a good one. And so I got the Zojirushi MyCalm rice cooker and warmer. It is a 10-cup rice cooker. That's 10 cooked cups. So, I think it maxes at 6 raw cups of raw rice, uncooked rice. And this is a fuzzy logic rice cooker. So it uses several different sensors to cook the rice to the perfect doneness. So not just does the temperature start going up, because that you could burn the rice doing that way too. It uses humidity and some other measurements to sense, and then it keeps the rice warm at perfect temperature, and it's insulated, so you could carry it to the table and put it there, and it'll stay warm as long as you keep the lid shut until the rest of the whatever you're cooking is done. and it is just great. I love this rice cooker. It's a little more expensive than the less expensive simple versions, but man, this is good, and it's well built, and I expect it to last a long time. It was $160, but it's an appliance. I pay more than that for a good toaster oven. So, and it provides a lot of food for my family. So, yeah, it's really, really great. A couple of nice things about it is that the cord disconnects. So you don't have to deal with a power cord flopping around on your counter when you're not using it. You can wind it up, disconnect it from the thing, and then roll it up and put it inside, or like leave it on the counter when you bring it to the table, the pot itself. And it's got a nice handle for carrying it around. So that's always good too. They have a smaller version, a 5.5 cup version, which is $140, but the 10 cup version is $160, and 10 is a lot of rice. It can make a lot of rice.
Yeah, that's $20 more for twice as much. Basically, it's probably worth doing that.
Yeah, exactly. And you can make less rice, in it, but you'll always have the option to make more. And then they have different. You can put in different kinds of brown rice. You can do sushi rice, jasmine, and it will figure it out. Like, it'll cook it correctly for whichever kind of rice you're putting in. You just tell it. But usually it's, if I'm just doing white rice, I put it in. I don't have to tell it anything. I just put the right amounts of water and rice in and just start, and it goes and it's done, in 25 minutes. I don't usually measure it, but it's really quick in its cooking. So, yes. And we've had it for about 6 months now, and it's been great. I really like it. So
now I'm hungry.
Now I want sushi. So that's it for this time. We would love to hear what you have to say about anything we talked about in our discussion. You can let us know by commenting on the show at sqpn.com/technology, or the StarQuest Facebook page, facebook.com/StarQuestMedia. Send an email to technology@sqpn.com. Visit the StarQuest Discord community at sqpn.com/Discord. You'll find links from our discussion and our picks of the week on our show notes at starquest.fm/TEC263. That's TEC263. Until next time, Jack Baruzzini, thank you for joining me and sharing the secrets of technology.
Thanks, Tom.
And once again, I'm Dom Bettinelli. Thank you for listening to the Secrets of Technology on StarQuest.